Okay, hi there. While we're waiting, I would love to know where you're from. By the way, I'm doing this on TikTok. I'm also recording it on YouTube, but my audience is on TikTok, but it's on YouTube now. If you're interested in rewatching it or watching the rest of it, if you pop in and have to pop out. Sorry, my lips are all chapped. Anyway, so yeah, I've got it going on YouTube and TikTok as per usual. So, because you've been asking me how you get access to these lives. Well, this is how. They're all going to be on YouTube from now on. All those other hundreds of ones I did, a lot of it's repetitive. So, but anyway, I got a whole bunch of them. I'll probably turn them into podcasts or something one day. I don't know. Anyway, let's get going. So you're from Illinois. Sunflower Girl, you've been here before, haven't you? Welcome back. Okay. Oh, it's usually really slow around this time, which is good. It's the only time I can do it today, which is good. It means that I should be able to get to almost all your questions, because I hate missing questions, but sometimes I just can't get to them all, right? So anyway, while we're waiting, I would love to know where you're from. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and I'm also recording on YouTube. So all of these will be on YouTube permanently now. Tennessee, hi Tennessee. I lost my voice earlier. When I was coaching and in one of the sessions, and it just almost went away. I don't know why. Really weird. Wisconsin. Hi, Wisconsin. I do talk a lot every day. I've got to learn Washington. Is that Washington State or DC? I've got to learn how to, there's different ways of speaking. Evidently, I speak wrong because I have to talk so much every day, and I evidently project wrong, so it's too much. That's why I keep wearing my voice out. State, Washington State. So we're neighbors here in Vancouver. Okay, so how many people have we got? Oh, wow, we've only got 17 people. This is my slowest time of the day to do it, so it's good. It means you're going to get your questions answered. So that's good. Love your advice, constantly sharing with my friends. That's very sweet. Thank you. Wow, this is the smallest group I think I've ever had. I actually am checking. Am I on the right channel? Yeah, Bratbusters. That's the smallest group I've ever had. Wonder why that is. Can't figure it out. I don't know why. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It just means that you'll get all your questions answered. I'm just concerned I might not have enough questions coming in, because if I get regulars, you've already heard everything. So I worry that I just won't get enough questions. Okay, so, well, let's get going anyway. I'm also recording these on YouTube now. So, but my platform is TikTok, if you're wondering why I'm not looking at YouTube. So, and I don't have a following on YouTube. So, but TikTok's my peeps. I hate those kind of things. My peeps. What does that mean? Peeps, short for people, right? Okay. I heard someone say that once and I thought, oh, is that rude? But no, it's short for people, I hope. Anyway, okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. My name's Lisa. Lisa, I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. It's all listed somewhere. And you can hire me for coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are. It's usually 1 hour per week. Or you can buy one of my courses or download my free behavior board. That's what we talk mostly about, and it's the tool that I use with almost all of my clients. It teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on there too. That's what makes it work. You're showing the kids how to be accountable because they're watching you. You want to be a model for your kids. You want to show, not this kind of model, but you want to model this good behavior because they're watching you. They're not listening to you nearly as much as they're watching you. Okay. Okay, let's get going with your parenting questions. Have I missed one already? No. Okay. So yeah, it's a small group now. So it means I should be able to answer all your questions, but it also means maybe I won't get enough questions to answer. I always get a bit edgy when I don't have questions to answer because I don't know what to say. Okay, so parenting questions. What would you like to know? I teach giving respect to get it. A lot of parents say, well, is that the authority or the pleaser or this or that? And I say, no, I just call it leadership parenting. And it's not the authority. The authority is my way or the highway. I know everything. And the pleaser is that, are you sure you want that? It's okay. You know, they're always trying to please their kids. They don't want their kids not to like them. I could have cared less what my kids thought of me. I'm disciplining you if you do something bad. The rest of the time, we're just going to have fun. So yeah, the pleaser doesn't want their kids to not like them. So they'll give in a lot just so that their kids will like them. It backfires, by the way. So does the authority for the most part. They're opposing ends and they both backfire. You want to be in the middle. You want to be the leader. Okay. 11-year-old boy, why do they repeat triggering behavior? I mean, why do they upset you? Because it's fun. They're actually testing you. They're trying to see if you're going to be a leader or not. They need, crave, and want leadership. And if you're not a leader, they're going to push you to it. It's just a natural instinct. They just do that. You know, they lean into it. Once you are a leader, they lean into it and they just respect you. They want that. They need, crave, and want a leader. But they're not going to say to you, hey, the reason why I'm triggering you is because I want you to be a leader. They're not going to tell you that because they don't understand that. It's just a natural instinct to want a leader when you're a kid. That's why. And it just says he doesn't respect you. He's just trying to get a rile out of you. You got to work on we never fix kids. We fix ourselves, right? We don't fix kids. We fix ourselves. We set ourselves up as calm leaders, and the kids will just follow. They're just going to naturally want to follow you because they're desperate for a leader. And if you don't provide that leadership for them, they're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure and all that other stuff, right? So they're going to look for a leader somewhere. It's going to be a peer, drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians, whatever. They're going to go in search of a leader. You want it to be you. And when they're teenagers, they're going to be more their own leaders, but you're there for backup leader. So you do change your parenting quite drastically when they're teenagers. There's more negotiations. More, here's what I want from you. What do you want from me? That kind of stuff. You got to work with them. And you pick your battles with teenagers. And you don't sweat the small stuff. I was coaching someone the other day and they said, well, shouldn't they respect me first so that I will respect them? And I'm like, no. You give to get. Give to get. It's a lot of give, very little get with teenagers. And especially when you're learning this stuff. And it's give, get, give. You just have to. Eventually they'll get on board and they'll start to respect you more. But yeah, you got to give it first. You give the respect first to get it. You don't say, like parents will say, well, I would be willing to do that if they would treat me with respect. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, it just doesn't. Okay. Introducing a new sibling into the family. I spaced out my boys by 4 years and it's such a struggle. My kids were 5 years apart because I had 2 kids and I had back surgery and I lost multiples in between there. So I didn't plan it that way, but it worked out fine. But I don't really think that you can. By the way, if you're a leader, all that stuff's easier, right? So if you're a really good leader, a new sibling, everything kind of is easy because they look to you all the time. They don't tend to take over, which is what's happening when kids are misbehaving. They're trying to take over because you're not. If you're not in charge, they're going to try and do it. But yeah, a new sibling, you can't really prepare kids for the drastic change it's going to bring in their lives. I hear this all the time. I don't know why. In the hospital, our little Johnny was so loving towards his baby sister. He was kissing her head. We see, here's a picture of it. And I'm looking at it like, yeah, right. But he didn't know what was like when you got home. He's like, oh, you mean this thing's coming home? You mean this thing's going to wake me up? It stinks, it spits up, and it's taking my mommy and daddy away from me? Whack. He's just going to hit it over the head sometimes. They're toddlers. They're kids. They don't understand all this stuff. If we can barely adjust to having a new kid in the house, what are they going to be like? All of a sudden, someone else is the star of the show. It's tricky. It just is a process. It takes time. But if you're a good leader, the process is quite easy. My son was 5 when his sister was born, and it was wonderful because he was just a great help. So my son is 22 months old and his dad is moving 5 hours away. I'm not sure he will understand. No, he won't, but FaceTime is wonderful. You can do that every single night, right? So no, how could they possibly understand that? How to handle teenage know-it-all. It's okay if they think they know it all. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's the actions that we deal with. Like they may very well be I don't know what, you're going to have to tell me what exactly, how did that get in the way? So they could very well be a know-it-all, but they still have to be respectful. So if they're a very respectful know-it-all, does it matter? So you're saying they're not respectful. Is that what you mean? So it's not the know-it-all that's the problem. It's the behavior. And I don't know what that is. You can ask me a question. I might be able to answer that. My children are almost 7 years apart, and now, in no way they were disrespectful, believe me. Yeah, you know what? That's easy enough to say. I kind of feel bad for other parents because there was someone on here once. I almost felt like deleting them. They said, I don't know why all these parents have have such a hard time. I just sailed right through parenting. It was super easy, and like, I'm surprised anyone even stayed on the live after that one. I couldn't figure out I didn't know how to delete them, but I would have. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of people are struggling out there. It's not always easy. And sometimes people just get really easy kids too. Um, yeah. Anyway, not to say that you weren't great at parenting, but yeah, there's a lot of people on here that are struggling because they're just learning, right? Yeah, parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. Doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, good one. My 4-year-old bites his 2-year-old brother whenever I turn my back. He won't stop. Okay. I would use my behavior board. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. And as the 4-year-olds, only 3 and up can go on the behavior board. So the 2-year-old isn't on it. So for the 4-year-old, you put his rule is no biting. So every time he bites his younger brother, the younger brother gets to play with his favorite toy for the next hour or something like that. Make the punishment fit the crime. Okay, you bit your little brother. Now he gets to play with your PlayStation now for the next hour, something like that, you know. So anyway, try something like that. You were mean to him. Now you have to be nice to him. You get to watch him play with your favorite toy. Age appropriate, obviously. How would he like that? That's one of my clients' favorite punishments because they say, boy, that one works. Like, it's a good one. My 3-year-old, well, you've already answered your question, sort of. My 3-year-old keeps saying, you're mean and go away. How do I address that? Why would you? He's just trying to get a rile out of you. So why would you? I just go, whatever. What should I do with my 6-year-old boy with Asperger's or Asperger's? Do they call that autism? They didn't used to. I think they do now. It's on the spectrum potentially. Anyway, yeah, that's a specialty. I deal with that in coaching only. I don't do those like specialty kind of things like teen troubles. I generally don't do on TikTok. So that would be something you'd have to hire me and we could figure something out maybe. I don't know. There's no guarantees with any of this, but it does my best. I've worked with kids with everything. I was never once ever asked to work with an easy kid. Not once ever in 50 years. Not once was I ever asked to work with an easy kid. I was always working with the kids on the spectrum or ADHD, whatever, WXYZ. I called them alphabet kids. So, but yeah, they always thought that was funny. But yeah, because they vary so much with Asperger's or Asperger's. Pronunciation's different depending on where you live. And with autism, what works varies so much, and they're different. They're all very different in the way it presents itself. That's why they call it a spectrum, because it's quite different. It's just an outdated term for Austins, actually. Do you do trainings for foster parents? If you have foster parents, yes and no. If you have kids coming, like if you have the revolving door and you have kids coming in and coming out, it's harder because it takes time to get this respect. So if you have kids for weeks, months, or years on end, then yeah, probably. If you're their main caregivers, yes, I do. But I teach parenting, so you have to be the ones that they're with pretty much all the time. But yeah, if you have the revolving door type of foster situation, some people do. If you have that, then it's harder because it takes time to get this. What should I do? How to help Asperger? That you're going to have to hire me. That's on bratbusters.com. That's on my website. You can check it out. That would be minimum of 3 sessions. The reason is we need to try some things, and then I need to figure out what worked and what didn't in the following weeks. One session, I can't. I mean, you can hire me and take me for a test drive. And a lot of people just take me out for a test drive with 1 session, and then they upgrade or buy more. But yeah, 1 session with autism, no. It's tricky. My toddler's a bit aggressive toward our dog. If you can't I always say this, you're going to hate my answer. If you can't keep your animals safe and unharmed, rehome them. There's no way. If I had a kid who was mean to our pets, they weren't even allowed to pick up the dogs because what if they drop them? So they learned really young, you respect that animal. Boy, oh boy, if there would have been big trouble with mom if they hadn't. So yeah, if you can't keep your animals safe and unharmed, rehome them. Actually, someone on here did when I said that. They had a toddler this was a few months ago now, and they had a toddler that was constantly beating up the cat or the dog, I can't remember. And they said, we took your advice, cried through the whole thing, but they rehomed their pet. It's the responsible thing to do. Poor little innocent animals. They shouldn't be harmed. They should be in a safe place. What is the website again? It's at the top of TikTok, but it's bratbusters.com. That's my website. And it's got an S on it, bratbusters.com. There are people out there pretending to be me. And there's a couple of them that I've heard of that clients have given money to. And then all of a sudden, when they did their Zoom sessions, their video camera wasn't working. My video camera is always working. If you don't see me in person, you've been robbed. So it's bratbusters.com. So, and it's all connected up here on my TikTok. So you can't go wrong if you just click on that. Same with my YouTube. It's all connected. So yeah, it's frustrating. There's nothing I can do about it when people, I kind of took off here on TikTok, and then that stuff happened a lot. Because when you get a larger following somewhere, you're going to get people trying to cash in on your audience, and that's what they did. So, and that's nothing I can do about it. But my clients have reported them, and I know one of them was shut down, or for now anyway. Oh, there's always those types in there. Okay, toddler in a store, how do you manage a tantrum? I actually have a course on toddler tantrum busting, and one of the things I talk about is how to shop with a toddler. Do you have a book? No, I hate writing, but one day, I was talking to a client. By the way, I'll talk about the shopping with a toddler in a second. One of my clients, I was talking to her, and I throw so much into coaching, but a lot of it's the same. Every single session is different, because I'm feeding off your personalities and your problems. Well, your failures and successes too. So she just said to me, she goes, you have to get this down in a book somewhere. Like, there's just so much information I'm throwing out there all the time. I got to get it down one day. Anyway, here's how you shop with a toddler. You never let them out of that shopping cart. If you do, you're going to pay the price. Okay. If they think they can have freedom in a supermarket or shopping, good luck trying to get them back in there. You've got to do it, but good luck with that. Anyway, here's what I did with my kids. I had a shopping goodie bag. And it was this little lunchbox, and it was really deep. I could still remember it was red for my son. And then when my daughter came along, I can't remember what color it was. It was the same one though. And it was long, it was sort of deep and narrow. It looked like a workman's lunchbox. Remember those old silver ones? Anyway, it opened like this at the top so that it sat perfectly in their lap. And I called it the shopping goodie bag, I think. I don't think that's what I called it, but that's what I call it now. And then inside there was I changed it every single day. So we'd have like just cheap little dollar store toys in there. And it was always something different. They'd seen it before, but they'd forgotten. If they hadn't seen it in a couple of weeks, they don't care. It's new this week, right? So they had stuff to play with. They always had something to color with. They had a little sippy cup and some snacks and whatever. So they had something to do. And they only ever got that when they sat in that shopping cart. It's the only time they ever saw it. The second I put them in the car, I closed that up and it went in the front seat beside me. They never saw it other than in that shopping cart. That was their incentive for getting in it. Easy. My son, though, he was the one who had tantrums. And so if he was stiff as a board, you know how they do that? They don't just go stiff as a board. They go like they arch their back and everything. And one day I was trying to get him in the shopping cart and he did that. Anyway, someone said to me, oh my God, there's no way I could keep doing that. I just stood there waiting, holding his arm and waiting, like with my hand on his stomach, waiting to push him in so I could bend him. And she goes, oh God, my kids, I just let them walk. And I said, that's not going to happen. So I got him in. And that was, I think, he only did that really bad once or twice. He realized mom was always going to win. If you let them win that kind of battle, look out. They don't forget that stuff. They forget the good stuff you do, but they don't forget the bad stuff you do. That's just the way kids are. Remember the time you did that dumb thing? Yeah. Okay. What about all the great stuff? What great stuff? Like, they just remember the time they get away with stuff, right? Okay. Oh, I can't answer this. I just started a home daycare. How do I help my 3-year-old adjust? She is hitting, biting, etc. I don't know anything about daycare, so I don't want to answer that. I teach parenting. So, but yeah, if you're running a daycare center, all of a sudden it's in your home and you got all these other kids coming in, that's tricky. That's a tricky one for me to answer. If you want my help, I could work you through that, but I can't just answer that here on TikTok. I don't know the situation. How many kids are there? How old are they? Blah, 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 blah. I have too many questions before I can give you an answer. So yeah, if you want my help, it might just be one session, that one. I don't know. It's up to you. Anyway, if you want my help, you go on bratbusters.com and you can buy a session if you're interested. But yeah, too many questions before I could give you an answer. How do I stop my teen from lying? Well, they're lying for a reason. I don't know what that is. But anyway, what you do is you use my behavior board, although teenagers are a little bit different. With kids, you discipline them to get respect. With teenagers, you've got to get respect before you discipline. If they're lying, they don't respect you. So it's tricky. You can try the behavior board on your own, and you can just put down no lying as their rule and give it a go. I don't know. Depends on how far gone you are with that lack of respect. It might completely tank, or it might work. I don't know. I'm guessing it's not going to work, though. It's just too simplistic for a teenager, but it might. If you want to hire me, we could work through that together. But yeah. I think she meant her kids started going to home day. Oh, okay. Her kid went to the other daycare. That's up to the unnecessary lies. So that's that compulsive stuff. Okay. So that's somewhere else. And your kid, the daycare usually knows how to deal with that. That's up to the daycare people to deal with. It's very hard. It's very hard to deal with trouble outside of the home if you're not there, and then to go home and deal with it. It's kind of too late. The daycare people usually know how to deal with that. If not, it's a bit tricky because it depends on the daycare, depends on who's running it. Like if I was running it, I'd probably say, oh, I'll have that fixed up within a week. But then I don't know how many kids I have either. What if I have tons of kids? And the other parents don't want their kids going home with bruises and bite marks on them too. So it is tricky. So yeah, that would be something more would be coaching. We'd have to figure that out. And you'd have to talk to the daycare people and ask their suggestions and how you can work with them. But it's their daycare. So they're kind of in charge of your child when they're out. You're not at that age. You see, it's kind of that cusp. If they're just 3, it's hard for you to discipline what's going on at daycare. Okay. Best way to handle teenage girls stealing teenage sister's stuff. Should I get involved? Oh, God, yes. I would put down on the behavior board, no stealing. Every time she steals, she has to give her sister something. It can be money, something of hers. But yeah, I would get involved in that for sure. Absolutely. You don't sweat everything, but I always say you don't sweat the small stuff, but that's a big stuff to me. It just stealing. It just is to me. Lying, stealing. There's certain things that are big stuffs, and I would address that one. Okay. I'm also on YouTube. I'm filming these now. I'm on TikTok here. So I don't have a YouTube following. So, but TikTok, I'm putting all my TikTok lives on YouTube now, so you can get access to them anytime you want. And I'm the same name on there. I think it's just Bratbusters Parenting. Is it? I can't tell. Anyway. Yeah, it is Bratbusters Parenting. Anyway. Used to be called Bratbusters Parenting Services, I think, but I've just shortened it. What about the best way to handle a big tantrum with a 3-year-old? Same way you handle a small tantrum. You ignore it. You restrain them if they're getting physical, if they're getting violent. Other than that, you just ignore them. Stand there filing your nails. As soon as they're done, you say, do you want to go play a game? Or do you want to go read a book? So you reward the calm, not the crazy. If you get involved in that crazy, you become part of it and it grows. You want to starve a tantrum. You starve a tantrum by ignoring it. Best way to deal with it. I don't discuss tantrums. They're not bad behavior. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. I don't go there. I just don't. They will eventually learn, hey, this ain't working. I may as well stop doing it. Let them figure that out themselves. You can't guide them into everything. They have to figure some stuff out themselves, and that's one of them. Tantrums is something they have to figure out themselves. How to discipline a 19-month-old. That's kind of a baby. Yeah, toddlers are just crazy. Look at my very first video. It's the top left. It says how to discipline toddlers. They're just forming. They're just tiny little human beings. And that video gives you some hints on how you can manage their behavior somewhat at home. Also in TikTok here, I have a whole playlist on toddlers. And that gives you a whole bunch of ideas on how to deal with toddlers. So how do you deal with the terrible twos? That's a lot of stuff to deal with in one little live, so look at all those videos and pick and choose what works for you or what you're having problems with. Okay, this one, I don't like this question. I'll tell you why, but I'm going to read it out. I mean, I don't like answering this, and I'll tell you why. Any tips on teaching how to express feelings when you see a child shut down or disassociate? That's too broad of a question. When you say express feelings while you see a child shut down or disassociate, I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know what's going on. You have to do some investigation first. If they've shut down, how are you going to get that out of them? So yeah, I don't want to answer that one. It just, yeah. The only thing I could sort of say, a bit of a TikTok answer here would be like, when I say a TikTok answer, it's like a quick general answer, is use role playing and play them, and then they play the other person, just see if you can get stuff out. But I don't know what you mean by disassociate. It's awfully big words for me. I don't talk like that. So yeah, they're just not telling you what they're feeling, then try role playing. It reminds me of the Andy Griffith episode when Opie throws a tantrum and Andy just ignores it. My God, are you as old as I am? You remember that show? Yeah, that was a great show. That was black and white when it first started with Barney Fife and all that. I think he left anyway. That was a funny show, really good show. Yeah, they only do past the age of 3. Kids only do what works. If a tantrum works, they'll keep doing it. And it works if you feed it. You feed it with any attention. Eye contact, talking is attention. That's food for a tantrum. How important is consistency to you? It's really important. And if you do mess up and you're not consistent, you have to own it. Say, hey, wait, I said that you're supposed to do this. We didn't do it. That was my bad. I get punished. I'm going to take you out for ice cream. So that you can kind of repair the lack of consistency. If you do mess up sometimes, you own it and you make amends to them for you not being consistent. If you mess up as a parent, you get punished, not your kid. That is leadership, by the way. Someone said to me the other day, they said, but isn't that being a follower? Like, aren't you in charge? Yeah, but that is leadership. I messed up. I said we were going to do this every single day. I forgot. So therefore, what can I do to make it up to you? I have to make amends. I have to be accountable. That is leadership. I don't know how old the biter is. I do have a course on toddlers who bite. If you're interested, that's on bratbusters.com. Bedtime battles with a 3-year-old. Okay. I talk about, this comes up, I'd say must come up every single live, bedtime battles. Anyway, you have it, there's twofold. Bedtime is, there's 2 stages to this. The first one is 1 hour of bedtime routine. The bath, brushing the teeth, getting in pajamas, you read to them for 20 minutes. Then you have a set time every single night. Be consistent, consistency. So you say, okay, so lights out at 7:30, or you can have a little mood light on or something, or one of those galaxy lights. You can have something, but basically now you stay in bed, good night. And then you say, love you, good night, stay in bed. So then you leave the room. When they follow you out, or when they scream or yell, just ignore them. But if they leave bed, you go in there and you put them back in bed. You said, I said it's bedtime. You say that the first time you put them back, physically put them back in bed. The second time you say bedtime, one word, put them back in bed. They already understand it now. They understand they're supposed to stay in bed. So every time after that, you put them back in bed physically. You're slow and calm when you do it. There's no speeding around, running around. You almost want to drag discipline out sometimes. It makes it more potent, makes it more like it has more of a message. So you're really calm about it and you just put them back in bed. They may be kicking and screaming. So long as part of their body hits that bed, and then you let go. Don't let them run past the threshold, but you do not look at them or talk to them every time after that second time when you said bedtime. And you may go for hours. It's usually one night of sheer hell and then never again. The worse that first night is, the less likely they are to do it the second night. So it's the bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow. Okay. So don't be afraid of that rough night. Expect it. That's normal, but it's usually just one night of hell. Unless you have a real history. The problem is that I could go in and make that work. I have no history with your kids. If they know that if they scream loud enough and keep going, you're going to go in there, they're going to keep going and going and going and going. But it's usually one really bad night. The next night might be half an hour. But one dad, I tell this story every single time. One dad was a client, and he said all he did, this kid was older. He was 5 or 6. I can't remember how old. This was years ago. And he said, I think it was years ago. Anyway, he said that all he did all night long till 4 or 5 in the morning. This kid went till 4 or 5 in the morning getting out of bed. It was a war. And the dad said all he did was stumble down the hall because he was drinking all night, didn't expect it to go so long. So he was drunk as a skunk and cursing out me. That's all he did. I won't go into it, but he said, you were called every name in the book. Said, darn that, Lisa, drunk. And then his wife had to take over because he got so drunk. Anyway, they just thought this is a total disaster. But I always say, you pay me a lot of money. Do what I say and make it, get your money's worth, right? Why would you not do what I tell you to do? So anyway, he did it, and it was one night. That kid never got up again. So, but the worst, usually it says, I just said this, to get to that rainbow, you got to go through the storm. But the bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow. That kid didn't get out of bed once after that, like after that first night. So there you go. Okay, 14-year-olds scream and cry over anything to get attention. You got to work on your leadership skills. Something's missing there. I don't know what it is. I would have to investigate. That's not like, oh, here's the answer. I can't possibly tell you that. I need to know what kind of parent you are. What's the history? What's going on in their lives? What's your relationship like? I need to know all that stuff before I could even start to figure that out. So yeah. How do you address 3-year-old biting or hitting? Say nothing. Oh, 3-year-old, you put down no hurting other people. So that means biting, hitting, etc. on the behavior board. And then every time they do, there's a consequence. Or you can go on my website. I actually have a whole course on this, and it's on toddlers who hit and bite and all that, if you're interested in that. So, but yeah, make it like there's a consequence. And no, I'm not going to go on about it. Are self-harming tantrums normal for 2.5-year-old? Yeah, absolutely. They bite themselves, they bang their heads. Just keep them safe, okay? Restrain. You have to physically restrain them. You're still ignoring them. You're not looking at them or talking to them, but you're physically restraining them from being violent. That's all. If they're really little, you pick them up and just hold them on your hip. You're not talking to them or looking at them. They're facing the other way. And you put your hand on the back of their head so they can't headbutt. And yeah. Example of consequences, if you go on my behavior board on my website, I've got all that listed out. It's a whole course, that behavior board, and it's free. Yeah, look up consequences. That is, hitting is one of the things that I talk about with consequences on my behavior board. That's the example, I think. I think I kept that same example. Well, what's an appropriate consequence? You're not going to like my answer. What's an appropriate consequence for a 4 to 5-year-old that talks back, rolls eyes, general disrespect? I don't address that. I don't address attitude. That just is a tell that they don't respect you, which means you got to work on yourself. You got to work on your leadership skills, and that stuff will stop. You're trying to put the cart before the horse. You're trying to get them to respect you before you commanded it, before you have earned it. You got to earn that respect, and that stuff will stop. That's the way it works. You got to set yourself up as a leader. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing ourselves. You set yourself up as a leader and everything just gets easier. It's just the way it is. They will follow you. If you're a leader, they will follow. But you're expecting the good behavior without being a leader. It doesn't work that way. And everything I do in coaching, it's all teaching you how to be a leader. Parents often say, what about the kids? I say, so they'll follow. And they do. As they get older, it gets more complicated, especially with teenagers. That's why that's pretty much always coaching with teenagers, because it's more complicated. There's some repair work to be done with teenagers. It takes 3-year-old a very long time to get ready to go outside because he's easily distracted. Tips? Not really. You mean to go outside and play? Any tips? Not really. I don't quite know what the problem is. Like, if he's just going outside to play, is there a rush? It just means that he can't go outside and play for a longer period of time. He's stuck inside. So I don't quite understand that. Isn't that something he wants to do? And if it's somewhere he wants to go, is he really fast when it's somewhere he wants to go? So I don't know what's going on there. Okay. What do I do about a 3.5-year-old spitting, taking toys and yelling? Not well. Yelling never works. That backfires. So yeah, that never works. That's fear-based parenting. And taking toys away. If that's all you're doing, there's something missing. You got to work on your leadership skills. The leadership skills start with that behavior board. Put on my behavior board, no spitting. And then there's a consequence when he spits. There's 2 consequences for the kids. There's a positive action. You start with that one first. If they won't do that, then you do the negative deprivation, something like 24-hour media blackout. So if he says, I'm not going to clean the room, like that's maybe his consequence, 10 minutes of cleaning his room. If he won't do that, say, that's fine. 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? And then make it happen. It's that calm. It's like a business transaction. You always discipline with your head. The rest of the time, it's all heart. But when you're disciplining, it's just a business transaction. There's no emotion whatsoever and no explaining yourself. They understand this. You've already explained the behavior board. They understand. That's not fair. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? Like, they'll figure it out. Just let them have a fit. That's okay. It's okay if they get upset. You want that. That's how they learn. Behind every scene is a lesson. Without the scenes, where's the lessons? They're not just going to go, oh, I get it. You're in charge. Okay, everything's fine. Doesn't go like that. They're going to go, what the heck? You know what? I kicked up a storm last week before you started all this, and I got my own way. I'm going to kick up 2 storms. I'm going to up it. So it usually gets worse before it gets better because they're going to fight back. And if you've got that 3.5-year-old spitting, it just means you're not a leader. That's all. It's just a tell to me that he doesn't respect you or she doesn't respect you. So you got to work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing parents here. We're teaching you how to lead. You lead, they will follow. They just will. It's just the way it works. You got to do the work to do this, though. You got to earn that respect. You got to earn this. You got to earn your leadership wings. It doesn't just happen. I mean, you've got to work for this. That's worth it. Getting respect is hard. Maintaining it is easy. So it's only really hard for the first 3 weeks to 3 months, depending on how consistent and calm you are. You've asked this one before, I'm pretty sure. Tips on how to stop a 6-year-old acting silly all the time because he's copying his friend from school. Or someone else has asked the exact same question about a 6-year-old. I don't know what the situation is. Is it completely inappropriate? Like I don't know what the situation is. Is it disruptive, or you just don't like him acting silly? So I don't know what the problem is with that. Timeout. I hate timeout. Can't stand timeout. Can't stand it. I get my microphone. I hate timeout. Never did one, never will. To me, it's really mean. It's a sign of disrespect. It's very dismissive. It's like you're not even worth talking to. Ugh, you go over there because I don't know how to parent. Just go in the corner, nose to wall. Then when you're sitting there for 3 minutes, I'll come over and talk about everything you did wrong and have the mini therapy session. I hate those too. And then we're going to talk about all your big feelings and emotions about how rotten you were. Oh, I hate all that stuff. It's horrible. Hate timeout. Did I mention I hate timeout? Yeah, I can't stand it. I just want to say I appreciate you and your views on parenting. It's refreshing. It's just different, and there's a lot of really wonderful parenting teachers out there. I'm sure I've never looked at one. I just stay in my lane. Kids taught me all this. So why would I ever look at what anyone else does? But I know that I'm sure there's tons of other people out there who know exactly what they're doing, and they're really good leaders too. I just have a style that might suit you, and then you got to find a style that resonates with you. So if I resonate with you, then you follow me, but you have to follow just me. It sounds so silly. If you're following me, you just follow me. If you're following someone else, you just follow them. Once you've decided who you like, you have to pick a path and go with it. Because if you were to mix all of our different methods together, they wouldn't work. It's like a package deal. My leadership stuff, everything I teach, it has to go together. It's like dieting. You don't go to different diet centers and pick and choose what you like from each one. You pick a path. So follow me for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, then follow someone else for 3 weeks. You got to give it 3 weeks, okay? If you're really struggling with your kids, give it 3 weeks, see how you go. But yeah, sure, there's lots of different ways of parenting. I teach leadership, and I know that there's, but I just made all that up. I don't know. I just call it that. But it's about being your kid's best friend, but you're a parent first. If they ever need a parent, that's what you are. Like if I was playing with my kids, I used to put every laundry day, I put all the underpants on my head, and the panty monster would chase my kids around the house. But if they had been disrespectful or rude, those underpants would have come off, and I would have gone, excuse me? And they would have gone, oh, sorry, mom. So I was always mom first. The rest of the time, I was running around with underpants on my head. So you can be as crazy as you want. You want to have fun with your kids, right? I was a real goofy, fun mom, but I got respect when they were tiny, so I could just relax and enjoy them. I didn't have to discipline them. They were self-disciplining. So because I'd put in the work when they were little, I got respect when they were little, and then I just maintained it right through the teen years. So that's what you want. But if you're starting, it's going to be hard. The older your kids are without you being a leader, the more work it's going to be to get it, okay? Because you've got a history of not being a leader. I didn't have that. That's why it was easier for me. So the sooner you do this, the better. But a lot of my clients have teenagers. And that's kind of my specialty. They're my favorite age to work with, because they're the ones I have to get creative and really think, about getting creative with them, because they're smart and they're more challenging. In this day and age, I get scolded for disciplining my child. Well, depends how you're doing it. And what do you care what people think? Like, I could care less what anyone thinks what I'm doing. If you're hitting them, that's different. But if you're disciplining, to me, it's like, plus I discipline like it's a business transaction. If I'd say, I didn't like that, so I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to be cleaning the house tonight for 20 minutes and be polite while you're doing it. Do you understand? That would be disciplining to me. So who's going to criticize that? Oh, they shouldn't have to do anything. They should be able to bite other kids and get away with it. So yeah, I could care less what anyone thinks. I remember when I was parenting, I remember thinking, this is so arrogant, but I remember thinking, I hope other moms are watching and learning, because I was really confident and I was proud of how I was parenting. So yeah, If you're confident in what you're doing and you're getting great results and you got a great relationship with your kids, wear it with pride. I could have cared less what anyone thought. Dealing with a toddler saying, "What? Neither my husband," and we'll just ignore it. They'll stop doing it. If they don't get attention for it, they're just going to stop doing it. And they're not about words, they're about actions. Ignoring is an action. So just ignore it. As soon as they say what, you just ignore them. They will eventually stop. Toddlers only sort of try things for a little while, but they'll keep trying them even when they fail. When kids are 3 and over, they tend to only do what works. Toddlers will keep doing stuff that doesn't work for longer. They take longer. They're all about repetition. They're about consistent corrective action, repetitiveness. They don't learn the first time, maybe not even the 100th time. But you ignore what? Enough, they'll eventually learn. They go through stages too. Just when you think you've got your toddler figured out, they'll change. What do you do instead of timeout? Everything I'm talking about. Everything. That's all I talk about. You can go up in my TikTok here, and I have a playlist called Start Here, and it will explain my leadership parenting theories and where you get started, and also my behavior board. It's a whole course and it's free. It's on my website, bratbusters.com. It'll teach you how to do this. But you know what? Sometimes parents will hire me. A lot of parents have already tried it before they hire me and it didn't work. And then they'll hire me and they say, "We know we're doing something wrong." And it's often something completely different than they thought they were doing wrong. And I'll say, "That's why it didn't work." And they go, "I never would have thought of that." I can't cover everything. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. But it's just often this little tiny thing that they're doing wrong that just completely tanks the whole behavior board. But anyway, so that's what coaching's all about. You can try it on your own, and a lot of parents are getting great success on their own. But if you're not, you're missing something. You're doing something wrong. I just don't know what it is. So if you want my help, you have to hire me for that. Okay, and that's all. Everything's on bratbusters.com. I don't know your question there. Okay, I've recently been trying to respect my daughter. I need the age there, Victoria. I don't know. And when you say respecting her, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You have to be more specific. That's a very broad statement, so I don't know what the problem is. Maybe you could just ask me something specific, but I need the age. I love your tips. My kids would always disrespect me, 3 and 4, and now not anymore or as much. Excellent. So you're using some of my methods. The one that most parents seem to use is ignoring the tantrum. That's the one that commonly I get emails every day about. You're right. Ignoring does work. You got to do it a certain way, though. There's a way you do it. I've got a whole bunch of videos on that. I show. If you just look up Brat on TikTok, look up Bratbusters Tantrums, or I have a tantrum busting course on my website. Sorry, my lips are all chapped. But yeah. That would be the most common thing that parents say they're getting success with on their own. It's just ignoring the tantrums. You got to starve a tantrum. I think I did a video on that. I think I called it How to Starve a Tantrum. And because you don't want to feed it, attention is food. You want to ignore it. That's starving it. And it'll just disappear. Okay, this one's don't have a good tip for this. How do I teach my 20-month-old to start playing on their own? I don't know. My daughter was my shadow. My son wasn't at all. He would quite happily go off on his own. It's more of a personality trait. My daughter wanted to be my little shadow. I'll tell you how this, a real obvious way this was. Now, they were 5 years apart. My son was first. And I sewed all our clothes. And so I had a sewing room. So we had a 4-bedroom home, and one of them was my sewing room. But I put a gate up there. So my son would bring all of his toys to the gate and chat with me while he was playing outside of the gate while I was sewing. Happily. And we'd chat away. And I'm right there. The sewing machine was right by the gate. So I'm right there. I'm with him the whole time. And we're chatting away. And then I'd reach down and maybe hand over a toy that he, lost inside the sewing room. No problem. Here was my daughter. I wish I had something to show you with it. Here's my daughter at the gate. If I was on the other side of the gate, here was her. She would never play. She'd just big shivering chin, like shivering, like just hanging onto the bars, just looking at me. Oh, she just wanted to be with me all the time. So I thought, what am I going to do, right? Like, I can't stand looking at that, this little chin query. And she never cried, or she was the easiest kid in the world, but she was my shadow. But because she was so easy, I brought her into the sewing room. I got rid of the gate, and I brought her in, and I put her down beside me, and I think I put down a little blanket. And I said, now you stay there. And she was just such an easy kid. So she was like maybe 6 inches closer to me, but because she was on the other side of the gate now, she was quite happily playing. So, and she had to always be touching me, and she was just the way she was. So, you kind of feed that. Like if they don't want to go off and play on their own, you kind of have to figure out how to work with that. And also, when my son was little, he didn't want to lose sight of me either when he was really little. So what I used to do is if I needed a nap, oh, and by the way, my whole house was completely child-proofed. And there was nothing waist down, virtually nothing. All the plants, everything was up top. It looked ridiculous. It looked like I only decorated from here up. Anyway, but that was my choice. I never wanted to say no to my toddlers. I just wanted to relax and enjoy them, right? So that's how I did it. So I knew the house was child-proof. And if I needed a nap in the middle of the day or wanted one because it was super hot, we lived in the tropics in Australia, super hot. So often I'd have a nap when he was a baby. And so anyway, I would lie on the middle of the living room and he would play with all of his toys on me. Like all of his toys were piled up on my belly or on my legs and I'd just be laying there. But the second I didn't feel him playing on me, then I would wake up right away. But so yeah, that was interactive. I wasn't doing anything, but he was playing on me. So yeah, just kind of made it work. Should consequences compound? No, generally that's a no. You can ask me specifically what you mean by that, but generally no. Okay, 3-year-old has lots of toys in his room. Best way to clean them up. I did a toy rotation system. So if my kids had 100 toys, 95 of them were put away. They only had 5 out at any given time. But I always kept the big stuff out, like books, Lego. What else would have been out? I can't remember. PlayStation. Like you don't put the huge stuff away. And any of that big stuff, that was what I used to call activity time stuff. So if they couldn't just pull out all the Lego and then play with all the blocks. I think I kept all the blocks and the Lego up. I think that was it. It was like, okay, it's block time. I ran it like a daycare or a school. Not everything was out all at one time. It was like, okay, now we're going to do this. So we had activity time. So I was very organized. I'm a minimalist more and I'm really fussy. So I'm very organized. So this way, when I said, let's clean up your room, they had 5 toys to put away. And I rotated them. If they got bored after a week or a fortnight, which is 2 weeks in Australia, or a quarter, then we'd rotate them. And I'd say, put all your toys in this box. I'd put it up top. Then I'd pull down another one. And then they could pick out 5 toys that they wanted to play with or whatever it was. So a toy rotation system. That way it teaches them how to focus because kids who have too much around them get that sensory overload and they get bored with everything. I got nothing to do. It's because they got too much to do. That's why they can't focus. So it teaches them how to focus, how to stay organized, how to stay clean. It's just got a whole bunch of good stuff going for it. So yeah, toy rotation system, I highly recommend it. Well, I don't know your question. 4.5-year-old saying no and then tries to negotiate with them. So, like if they did that with me, I'd just go, whatever. And then whatever I said is happening is happening. Like they can't pull me in. Why are you being pulled into that? That's what I don't understand. How are you being pulled into that? I would just go, whatever, and then just go about my business. It's happening. Like if I say something's happening, it's happening. That just says to me he doesn't respect you. He thinks he's in charge, and he has been in the past for sure. That's a tell. If he's 4.5 and he's doing that, it means he's in charge, and he knows it. At least some of the time. That's why my kids never argued because they knew if I said no. If they had ever said, but what, I would have gone, what? Like once I said something, it was happening. Like that's it. I was a leader, right? So that just says that you got to work on your leadership skills. That's not about him. That's about you. He's reflecting your parenting. That's all. Their behavior, not their basic personality or their basic nature. They're born with that. But their behavior is just a reflection of your parenting. And that's all that is. Work on your leadership skills. Shoot. Because that just says that you have given in. That's all. He knows it. 19-month-old who won't play with others and all that. Yeah, they don't really interact much at that age. They're just learning how to do that. They tend to play on their own beside each other. It's just the way it is. Like you watch them play. There's not a lot of here, you do this and you do. There's not a lot of that. They don't have the language skills. They don't have the cooperation skills. They don't have the sharing skills. They learn that. Their peers teach them that pretty quick. If they were just to grab everything they wanted, one of these days they'll get belted. Some kid's going to whack them in the head and they'll learn really quickly if they're that type of kid. So it's social stuff will teach them. But yeah, at that age, they tend to all play in the same room, but they're all playing sort of independently. So they learn. It's just part of it. Okay, good one. Rule is broken multiple times in a day. Okay, this comes up a lot. I think I pretty much in every live I do this one. And I just did a video on that too, I think recently. What if they do this? What if they break the rule several times a day? I just did a video on that, I think a couple days ago. I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, I'll tell you here now. So let's say the rule is on the behavior board that's free on my website, bratbusters.com. Let's say the rule is no hitting, but they hit 50 times a day. So that the consequence is if they hit, they have to, I don't know, if he hits his little sister, he has to make her bed for 2 days, something like that. If he doesn't, then he gets 24-hour media blackout. So what are you supposed to do? He hits her 50 times a day, and he has to make her bed 50 times a day. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So what you do is you bundle them all up into one big day, okay? And you say, I didn't like you. Do not hit your sister, and you pull her away or keep her safe as much as possible. So then you say, we're going to discuss this after dinner tonight. Do you understand? So after dinner, say, look, you didn't just hit once or twice. You hit several times today. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's go to the behavior board. You see on there, the rule is if you hit your sister, she gets to play with your favorite toy, or you have to make her bed for 2 days. That's the consequence. And then if you don't do that, then it's 24-hour media blackout. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Because you hit her so many times today, we're going to go straight to 24-hour media blackout starting now. Do you understand? And that's how it's done. Just go right to that big one, the big kahuna. They learn. You just got to be really calm. You see how I did that? So I'll tell you what we're going to do. See how in control I am, how calm I am. And then I say, do you understand? But I've already started the timer. Not fair. I didn't know. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? Just end it. End it. And then the only thing I might say after that is I won't be discussing this again. So then when they're doing media blackout, you do it with them so that you can say to them once they've calmed down, say, do you want to play a game? There's no screen, so how about we play a game? I hate you, I hate you. Okay, fine. You're always trying to pull them into the good zone, into the light. Okay, you're showing them you're not angry, you're just disciplining because you're the leader. There's a consequence, it's just happening. That's all. You're not angry, it's just happening. So how about we play a game? But you see, you're always modeling this behavior, this taking the high road. And that you're not mad at them. You actually want to play a game with them, but there's no media. What if after the second one you already done the media black? Yeah, I just addressed that. Just bundle them all up in one day and go straight to media blackout. And they keep hitting. Not much you can do about that. Just keep them apart then. Or, yeah, not much you can do. It's still a lesson, even though they keep hitting, because they think, well, he can't punish me anymore now. I may as well keep hitting. Yeah, they're going to keep hitting. The lesson is still happening. You can't keep doubling it and compounding it. No, it doesn't work. It's useless. Absolutely useless. So don't bother. They will eventually learn. It just takes time. Parents always want the rainbow today. You got to wait 3 weeks to 3 months before you really get this going, okay? You got to just invest in this consistency, and you do it every single day, and you follow through with all these. You get 3 behavior boards in 3 weeks. That's all you do. And then you just keep making them work, making them work. And when I say make them work, you just do your end. They're going to mess up a lot. That's okay. I don't care what they do. I care what you do. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing parents. And by doing that, we're teaching you how to be a leader. That's all this is. Kids know how to kid. When you're a good leader, they will follow. They just do. I was working with this family a while ago, and they said they had taken everything away for about a week. And I mean, everything, like the kid had nothing in his room. He had media blackout, everything. And I said, okay, so the first thing we have to do is you apologize for overreacting, give him everything back, and take him out for ice cream. They didn't want to do it. And I said, you have to, because you messed up. You went too hard. You went too crazy. And I said, you have to apologize for that and give him everything back. That's how we started. That was the first session. I don't even know if we did a behavior board. I think the first session was me just trying to get them to do that. I don't remember how that went. I talked to so many people, but I can remember that. They'd just gone in too hard. Nothing was working. They said, we've done everything you've suggested, but they did it all in one day. Like, they just did it all. You got to do one behavior board at a time, one rule at a time, one consequence. It's slow and gradual, and you're learning. This is your trajectory. Week 1, week 2, week 3, you're learning how to be a leader. The kids are like this. They're all over the place. I don't care. When you get good at this, they'll eventually join you, and then you'll both go up like crazy. You'll be a leader, and they'll be following. It's just the way it goes. But you'll know when that's happened. It's just like a switch is flipped. But you got to keep being consistent. You got to earn that. You got to work for that. It's hard work. But anyway, yeah, that's why we don't compound. Geez, that family. I can't remember the situation exactly, but I do remember that they didn't want to do that. And I remember the whole session was just, and they said, well, you got to come up with something else. And I dug my heels in. I said, no, that's the first week. That's what you have to do. And it worked. It got them instant, it got the kids' attention, and they got instant respect right then and there for apologizing and not just giving everything back, but taking the kid out for ice cream to make amends for making that big boo-boo, that big mistake, by stripping everything away from them. So does that make sense at all? Why would I do that? Why would that be the only thing they had to do? That I wouldn't tell them anything else to do. Why was that so important? Does it make sense why that was so important? When you come in too hard like that, why we have to apologize and make amends for that? Anyway, I'm also filming here on YouTube. I don't have anyone on YouTube. Like, I don't have a following on here. I think I've got one person watching, but you've probably come over from TikTok, right? But anyway, I'm filming all these on YouTube now at the same time. It's super easy. It's no big deal. The only thing I don't like about the YouTube is I'm always looking over there. So it looks like I'm ignoring YouTube, but it can't be helped. And also I'm getting a light I already bought a light. It's coming next week so it'll be better lit on YouTube. Not that that really matters. You don't care how I look, right? You just care about the information. You said, tell me when she's bored or how to put toys away. Is that a question? I don't understand. What time is it? Oh, just got a panic attack. I've got a session coming up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 7-year-old, I know what I'd say to you here. 7-year-old hits at school unprovoked and got suspended. Took stuff to earn them back, but doesn't work. Yeah. So what you've done, he's hit at school. It's unprovoked. He's just trouble. He's a bit of a bully, right? He's hitting other kids unprovoked. That's what you said. So then you just get him home and you take stuff away. You don't know why he's doing it. We got to figure out why he's doing it and where it started. How old was he when it started? We got to go back. We got to figure that out. There's a little bit of work you have to do to figure that out. So that's what, that would be coaching. If you want to hire me for that, I got to figure that out. Why is he doing that? Where's the payoff? He's only doing it for a payoff. I'm suggesting he probably feels a bit left out. He's a little bit low self-esteem. Would I be on the right track there? So we have to work on that. And anyway, I just signed up for the free course and I will be taking notes. Got a lot of people downloading that behavior board, which is fantastic. And but yeah, that behavior board, I haven't changed that I think I invented that. I put the parents on it. That's what makes it work. I think I invented that 15 years ago. And I haven't changed it at all. The only thing I've changed recently is instead of you do 3 of them, 1 per week. Instead of putting the old ones behind there, when I'm dealing with little kids, they sometimes forget. So now I'm saying when you get a new behavior board, the other ones can be seen also. So, but you can still have the new one bigger, and then just make them all the same size eventually after 3 weeks. But yeah, they can all be seen at the same time. That's the only thing I've changed, but I haven't changed the behavior board, just how they're presented. Even that, I was shocked that I did that. It was just because one little kid literally could not remember what the old rules were. So I said, well, then just put them out in front. And then that worked really well for that little kid. So now older kids, they can remember, but it doesn't hurt to put it all out. It's no big deal. Because I've been doing it the other way for so long, it's hard for me to suggest it changes, even though it's probably a better way to do it. Isn't that funny? So I'm like, it bothers me that I maybe should have done that before, but see, that's that. I get too stressed out over that stuff. I'm very definite about what I teach. And if I change something, I feel like, was I doing it wrong before? Should they have been put behind? Isn't that the dumbest thing? Does it matter? No. But that bothers me. I just take this really seriously. Okay. What would you say has been the most challenging situation context you have had to solve? I absolutely 100% know what it is, but I can't tell you. It's crisis work. It's always the hardest. It's the life and death stuff, the abuse, the trauma, well, I can tell you something that happened because it might help you one day. And it's happened, I think twice, once for sure, and I think the second time, but they didn't let me know exactly what had happened after this. Anyway, it's when young girls are chatting to guys online, and the picture, and the guy can never get a video camera going. And I always tell your kids, if they're talking to someone online and they can't do a live chat with you, you are talking to a big, fat, old, creepy guy sitting there in his underpants. That's who you're talking to. You are not talking to that picture. Anyway, sure enough, this young girl was talking to this, it was like years and years ago. It was a Justin Bieber lookalike. They showed me the picture. And she was going to meet him. She was going to run away from home and meet him. We found out somehow, and I said, okay, I'll tell you what, you hang up right now and you call the police. She hadn't run away yet. Okay. She was still at home. And I said, you make sure she's in her room. One of you go right now, make sure she stays in her room. And we're going to hang up. Our session is ending. Call the police and tell them everything. And I called the police also. Anyway, that person, oh, I'm getting the shivers. That person, the police set up a sting. She was going to run to a different province on a bus. He was going to meet her there. And yeah, he's in jail. That guy was waiting. He was a big fat old guy, creepy, you know what, a creepy freak. I don't want to say the word because I get kids watching. But yeah, you can learn from that. That's why I'm telling you that one. So yeah, you always tell your kids if they're talking to someone online, if that person cannot do a live video chat with you, they are a creepy old fat man sitting there in his underpants. That's what you're talking to. So, and even if they're talking to someone young, they can't run away. But anyway, then that gets into online safety. Then we get into passwords. How do you deal with that? That's another thing. If you're interested in that, let me know. You can ask questions, and what I'll do is I won't answer them here because it's a little bit involved, but I might do some videos on more teenage stuff for safety, online safety stuff. I'll write that down actually, because I deal with a lot of that in coaching, but I don't tend to do that on here. Because I think it's mostly young parents on TikTok, and I like to keep TikTok kind of positive and more fun. So I don't tend to talk about all the crisis, life and death stuff on here, but I deal a lot with that in coaching. Online safety, okay. I did a lot of that. I stopped doing it years and years ago. I used to do a lot of radio and TV back in the day when people watched that and listened to that. And they started calling me the crisis queen. Whenever some kid would be taken or whatever, or do something to themselves, I'd be on the news talking about it. And then they started calling me the crisis queen. I stopped doing all media work right then and there because I didn't want to be the crisis queen. I want to prevent all that. I don't want to just always be dealing with that. You know what I mean? Like the crisis stuff. As much as I do that, I do that. But I don't want to lead with that. I'd rather prevent all that in the first place. So anyway, but yeah, I did a lot of that work, but I just quit when they start calling me the crisis queen. That's not where I want to take my business. So anyway, do you work with kids who have autism, PDA? Yeah, but only in coaching. That's a specialty. And I need at least 3 sessions with that because it's trial and error. They're all different. And I got to see we're going to throw a whole bunch of ideas at you. We're going to see what works and what doesn't. And then we go on, try other things. So, but there's a lot to it, right? I also need to know who else they're working with, what kind of, if they have any therapy or any kind of play therapy or something like that. I need to know how that's going. So I would be irresponsible to give you general answers here. I need to assess the situation. They're all different. I'm going to have to go soon. I've got a session. Okay. Okay, 3-year-old has loud tantrum in store, still need 5 to 10 things. Yeah, I did that once with my son. It was ugly. The manager even came over and said, is everything okay here, ma'am? In other words, can you take your rotten brat out of here? Anyway, I said, look, I just have to go. I got company coming for lunch. I have to get the spot. So I raced around. Anyway, so yeah, I would get them out if you can. Just get out if you have, unless you can't. And just apologize to everyone around. Sorry. But yeah, there's nothing you can say with that kid. Just ignore them. My son, when he finally calmed down, do you know what I said to him? He was 3. He was 3.5, and he was in the shopping cart. And as soon as he calmed down, he lost steam. He'd been screaming the whole time. And I looked at him and I said, wait till I get you in the parking lot. Oh, God. Ooh, never had another. It was his very last tantrum. I was seeing red. Oh, God, he's a pain. Okay. Do you work with adult men who never had proper upbringing? Nope. I mean, man-child? No. This one, okay. I can't give you a good answer, but I can give you a clue into what I do. What I do with clients with this situation. What to do when my 7-year-old compares food, toys given to him and brother, even a color of cups. You get systems in place. You make sure it's all fair, okay? And you say, look, I figured it out. Here's your color. You pick a color, like flip a coin, pick a color and just buy him that color and that thing. Get a system in place. And if you argue, say tough, because you've already done your best to make it fair, but then just get to the point where you say, well, that's tough, isn't it? You already picked blue. That's all you're getting. You got blue. So yeah, get a system and then make it work. But you work on the system with him and you say, okay, which color do you want? Which color do you want? And that is your color from now on. Or if there's only one thing, like pouring cereal and they're fighting over who does it, then you can flip a coin and decide who starts pouring. They can pour their cereal first, and then they each take turns. So you started yesterday. Just get systems in place. They'll get so bored doing all that, they'll end up getting along because it slows everything down, and they don't like that. You said, I'm a regular here, seeing the toddler videos. Great. 2.5-year-old is starting, well, 2, so starting to get mouthy or saying hush up. You just ignore that stuff. Just ignore it. That is attitude. I never address attitude. They're almost 3 now, so they're going to start figuring this out. They'll just stop doing what doesn't work. So if you ignore them when they're acting like that, like as soon as if a kid said hush up to me, like, oh, well, there's different ways. Okay. So if I just said, okay, so we're going to stop doing that. We're going to have dinner now. And they go, oh, hush up. I would just ignore that. I would just look away at that age. But if I had to get them in the car or something and they said, stop that or hush up, I still would ignore them, but they're getting in the car. Whatever they were fighting back about and they didn't like and they got cheeky about, it's happening. It's just going to happen. Okay. I got a lot of examples with that. I don't want to get into it right now, but yeah, make sure that whatever they're sort of fighting back about and getting snotty about, you make sure it happens anyway. And don't let their attitude have any influence on you whatsoever. It's just manipulation. That's all it is. Oops, I have to get going. Anyway, I'm also filming on YouTube now. I don't have an audience. Okay. Came from TikTok. Yeah, I don't have an audience on YouTube. So anyone who's on here, I'm assuming you're from TikTok. Loves, you're so knowledgeable. I'm just old. You learn a lot of stuff when you get old. You can be as dumb as a doorknob, but if you've lived long enough, you'll actually have some wisdom. So anyway, I am filming all these on YouTube now, so you can see it afterwards if you're interested, if you missed some of it. And I'll just do my little spiel, my little outro, and then I'll do one more question. So my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. It's all up there. And the link's up in TikTok there or on YouTube. And so you just go on there and you can hire me for coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you're from. I'll tell you something funny. I had this client years and years ago, and we were just talking about it today with someone. I get names wrong all the time because I get clients from all over the world. And this poor guy, his name was Jesus. Do you know how that's spelled? I called him Jesus. I didn't know. I didn't know that's how you spell Jesus. And he thought that was the funniest thing. So how embarrassing, eh? So I do my best. What I usually say to people when I know I can't pronounce their name is I'll say, look, I am lousy at pronunciation. Can you please tell me how you spell it? And then I will type it out phonetically so I can say it that way. But imagine calling that guy Jesus. I wonder if he's thinking, what a stupid idiot. That was probably 15, 16 years ago. And I never forgot that. I thought that was so dumb. Oh, I love this question. You're going to hate my answer. How do I help my 22-month-old regulate his emotions? You do not do that at all. He has to learn how to self-regulate. You do not try and regulate their emotions. That is ludicrous. It's impossible to do. I know it's trendy right now, but it's crap. You cannot regulate someone else's emotions. All you can do is regulate the behavior and have consequences, and then teach them that you are the leader, and their emotions will eventually regulate themselves. Because when they have a good leader, a calm leader as a parent, their emotions do tend to regulate. That's how you do it. You cannot go lift up someone's skull, turn a dial, and regulate their emotions. It is impossible. So don't even try. I know it's trendy. These little mini therapy sessions discussing big feelings, big emotions. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Is anyone with experience teaching this, older, who's finished raising kids, who's worked with hundreds of kids? I just don't know who's teaching that. I have no idea. And I never will. I don't look at that. So I'm not criticizing anyone personally because I don't know who's teaching this, but I know it's trendy. And it does not work. It is a complete waste of time. But if you have really easy kids, anything works. My daughter, anything would have worked with her. She was the easiest kid in the whole world, just born that way. Not me. She just turned out that way. My son, he was more normal. I had to put some work into him. But yeah, that regulating emotion, and talking about big feelings and big emotions, it's just trendy, but it lacks experience behind it. Anyone teaching that, they can't be experienced. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. That's my battle. I get that. I hear that all the time in coaching, because they'll say, "What have you been doing? Why did you hire me?" And they said, "Because we were discussing big emotions and big feelings, and it wasn't working. It was backfiring." And I said, "I know." But yeah, that's how I know what's so trendy right now, is because my clients tell me every single day. That's the kind of stuff I'm up against. So I have to repair all that stuff. So yeah, they will learn how to regulate their own emotions. That's the whole point. You want children who are self-disciplining. You want children who learn how to regulate their own emotions and self-discipline. The way you do that is you be a calm leader for them. They will follow, they will be regulated, they will be calm, they will be very delightful children to be around. That's how it works. You do not fix kids, you fix yourself. Set yourself up as a calm leader and they will follow. It's just a natural instinct, okay? And then everything gets easier. That's the way it goes. Anyway, I have to go. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye now.